Hello everyone. Today we will be talking about wireless communications. Before we talk about wireless communications, let's talk about wired communications. What is a wired communication? Wired communication involves the transmission of data or information through physical connections such as electric wires or electric cables. So, we have a picture depicting a wired connection. Wired communication is like a trusty old friend. We use physical cables to transmit data. It's reliable, secure, and offers high speed connections. They are perfect for situations where stability and security are of top priorities. Wired communications are essential in the development and advancement of telecommunications. Now, we will be talking about some key places where wired communication is used. So, one of these aspects is the fiber optic cables. In fiber optic cables, as you can see in this picture, the light signals are used to transmit data. This is known for high speed and high bandwidth capacity. Next, we will look at Ethernet cables. This is an example. You would have definitely seen this picture. This is an Ethernet cable. This is used for local area network connections and it connects devices like routers, computers, giving wired internet access. So these are Ethernet cables. Next, we will look at coaxial cables. So this is a typical example of a coaxial cable. This cable is used for high frequency transmission signals like cable TV and broadband internet connections. Next, we will look at a very common cable called as electric cable. Electric cable is a traditional form of wire communication where electric signals are sent through copper and aluminium wires. Examples are landline phones connections. These are all normal electric cables. Now, having studied wired communication, we will now move into wireless communication. Wireless communication involves the transmission of information or data over a distance without the use of electrical conductors or wires. In wireless communication, the data is transmitted across space by using electromagnetic waves like infrared signals and satellite links. The key components of wireless communication include transmitter, which sends the signal, and a receiver, which receives the signal. Think of wireless communication like a breath of fresh air. It's all about freedom and convenience. No cables are required. Wi Fi, Bluetooth, and cellular network are part of this wireless communication. It allows us to connect on the go, making it ideal for mobile devices. So, wired communication tends to be faster and more reliable. Think of it like a race car on a straight track. But there are some problems we encounter with wireless communications. Before that, let's look at the difference between wired and wireless communication. Alright, let's look at the difference between the wired and wireless communication. Alright, when we look at the medium aspect, wired communication uses physical cables like copper wires, fiber optics, etc. But wireless communication transmits through air using radio waves, microwaves, etc. When we look at the speed and bandwidth, wired communication offers high speed and more bandwidth. Wireless communication offers limited bandwidth and it also is slower as compared to wired. Now, when we talk about reliability, wired communication is more reliable due to physical connections and less interference. In wireless communication, it is subject to interference from other devices weather, etc. When we look at security, the wired communication is more secure. But when we look at wireless communication, it is not that secure. Now let's talk about mobility. Wired communication offers limited mobility due to connections, physical connections. Wireless communication, on the other hand, offers high mobility and allows for movement and also remote access. Now let's talk about the maintenance. The maintenance can be challenging in wired communication due to physical damage risks are more in wired communication. In wireless communication, it is easier to maintain but requires the managing of signal interference. I'll be talking about what is signal interference. Now let's talk about the cost. In wired communication, the initial setup can be expensive, but after that the maintenance does not cost that much. In wireless communication, the initial setup is less expensive and also it is less expensive. It is much more less expensive than wired communications. Now let's talk about the installation aspect. In wired communication, the installation can be complex and costly, requiring a lot of cables. In wireless communication, less infrastructure is needed, so it is less complex. Now we will talk about scalability aspect. Adding new connections to the already existing wired connections can be a little bit complex and little bit challenging in wired communication. In wireless communication, it is easier to scale and accommodate more users. Now let's talk about the use cases and where we use the wired communication and wireless communication. The wired communication is ideal for high-speed data transfer like data centers. Wireless communication, on the other hand, is suitable for mobile communication, IoT, and remote access. So these were the differences between the wired communication and wireless communication. That's it for this lecture. See you in the next one.